Words create worlds. Whew. Had to start off this chapter, this module, this training session with like a bang because that's the reality. And that's why chapter 10, we're talking about how we need to speak words that build trust. Because the reality is, there are phrases that we can learn that, when said in the right way, earn trust, earn confidence. And then when we formulate the right language, it will connect. And then we'll know what to say if clients ghost us or go quiet or challenge us or are frustrated. And we've all been in those situations where we've had clients meetings where we wish we would have said something. Have you ever been there? You get done with a client meeting. I've had a bunch like this, and I seemed to trip over my words. I had the numbers. I showed up ready. I had the plans, but just something was off. My words weren't connecting. The phrases weren't connecting. My client nodded politely, but they smiled at the end, and I could never get them back on the phone. One particular meeting I had that was rough. I sat in my car afterwards and I just replayed everything. And that's when it hit me. It wasn't what I was doing, it was how I was saying it. And that's why there's a very strategic plan to this playbook. Every single module chapter has built on top of each other. And that's why now we're talking about our words. And the reality is, in those meetings where I messed up, I hadn't just missed the sale. I hadn't just missed them being a client. I missed the moment. That's like a human one. And every conversation you have with your clients is a chance to build trust or break it. And so that's why this one uh, is towards the end here, because we want to kind of put one of the cherries on top of the sundae. And we want to help you kind of figure out your words, because listen, if everything else collapses, you have your words and they've got to line up. And you can still say the right thing and lose trust. You can speak with empathy, precision, and purpose. And when you do, it changes everything, because there's the one skill that you've got to master, and that's speaking words that build trust. Like I said, words create worlds. You know how powerful words are. I know how powerful words are. They're not filler, they're the foundation. Every phrase signals intent. And your clients, oh, they'll feel your words more than they'll analyze them. Because here's the reality: if you're rushed, they feel unimportant. If you're vague, they feel unsure. If you're dismissive, they feel small. You can have the best advice in the world, but if your delivery feels cold, controlling, defensive, trust slips away. And so the reality is you've got to be able to know what to say. Now, there's 4 word zones, and this is in the playbook, and you should really go over this. If you're in the client communication masterclass series module, there's a PDF, the 4 word zones, your trust language filter. But there's a chart and it talks about the word zones. Now, here's the 4 word zones. Okay, defensive. Okay, defensive. Then controlling, different than defensive. Then passive, and then empathetic and clear. So when you're defensive, the outcome, you already know this, it breaks trust. And probably it happened because you said a bad phrase like I said before. And a better phrase to say would be, let me clarify. Let me clarify. See, even those little slight changes, little slight tweaks are so important. The the controlling word zone. The outcome is they just shut down. Everything shuts down. And so the bad phrase is, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. And the better phrase is, here's one path we could take. Here's one path we could take. The passive word zone, this outcome, it creates uncertainty. And the bad phrase would be, maybe you could consider. Maybe it already sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about. But the better phrase would be, let's explore this together. And then lastly, the empathetic and clear zone, that outcome, we know it builds trust. It builds trust. The bad phrase would be, we've all been through that. We've all been through it. Like, you're minimizing their experience. The better phrase is, this matters to you and I hear it. See, some of these are just tiny little tweaks, little changes. And your instincts may default to protect or push, but trust is earned through calm, confident collaboration. Calm, confident collaboration. And so in In this chapter, there's a word zone self check. Take 3 minutes, go through it. Think about your last client conversation. When did I sound defensive, controlling, passive? How often did I use language as empathetic, collaborative, clear? Which of the phrases do I need to stop using immediately? Think through that. What's the one phrase that I can start using this week? And here's the reality: you and I, we need to fill our leadership, our influence, our language, our words with empathy. Empathy. And I don't know what comes to mind when you think of empathy. So often we're just like, well, empathy is just feeling sorry for somebody. This is not it at all. It just barely scratches the surface. It's very superficial look at empathy. Empathy is putting yourself in your client's shoes. It's feeling what they feel. And if you're in the client communication module, you'll see the PDF. If you're in the playbook, it's right here. I'll put the PDF in the YouTube comments as well. But here's the reality. This is the empathy framework. And these aren't just scripts, they're signals. They show your clients that they're safe, seen, and supported. And so the E, engage emotion. Engage emotion. Start with how they feel. How are you feeling about this? Not just thinking. How are you feeling? The great Charles Duhigg wrote Super Communicators. He says, don't ask somebody where they grew up. Ask them how they feel about where they grew up. Then the M in empathy, mirror the language. So you got to reflect their words back to them. You mentioned this feels overwhelming. Let's slow it down. Let's talk about it more. P, you got to personalize it. You got to tailor it to your life. And because you've done all of the modules, you've done all the different chapters of this book, you've gone through it, you've done the hard work, you know how to do that. And so you can say something like, this moment feels big, especially after what you've been through. Powerful, powerful. A, you got to affirm the value. This builds the confidence. Say something like, you've made thoughtful decisions. This one's no different. Powerful stuff. T, take responsibility. You got to own confusion or the mistakes. And then you got to say something like, I could have said that more clearly. Let me try it again. Then the H, hold space. This is when you give them time and voice. No rush here. Let's think it through together. Let's talk through the different angles. And then the Y in empathy, yield power. Yield, slow down. Guide, don't force. Say something like, it's your decision. I'm here to support you either way. I'm here to support you either way. That's the power. And if you could learn this empathy framework, if you're going through this by yourself or you're going through it as a team, it doesn't just soften your language, it strengthens your leadership. And when your leadership is strengthened, your influence increases. It's just absolutely amazing. So when you communicate with empathy, your clients don't just hear you, they feel safe with you. But what happens when they don't respond at all? You text, you email, you follow up again, still nothing, no word, just avoid. That's when your words matter most. It's easy to always assume the worst. That's what we do. But silence rarely means no. More often it means not yet, not sure, or not ready. And so you got to think through how you respond in quiet moments. This is where the trust is either reinforced or it's quietly erased. And so let's talk about what to say when you're ghosted, because we've all been there. Silence doesn't always mean rejection. Sometimes it means stress, life overload, hesitation. These phrases help you follow up without pressure, just presence. So avoid phrases like, just checking in. Let me know if you're still interested. And say this: I know life gets busy, no pressure. I'm here when the timing feels right. Maybe another one. Last time we talked, you mentioned insert what you talked about. I just wanted to honor that. Put it in their court. Maybe another one. If now's not the time, let's just text me pause and I'll circle back another time. Not every client's going to ghost you. And sometimes they just need a well placed word or a phrase to feel steady and seen and ready to act. And so the right phrase at the right moment uh, doesn't just move the conversation forward, it moves your client forward. And so when your clients feel stuck or overwhelmed or unsure, they're designed to affirm that urge agency. So reflect your trust in them without pushing. We've talked about some phrases to use. So maybe the situation like when they feel unsure, maybe use the phrase, you've already made thoughtful choices. Let's take one step at a time. Okay. Maybe when they feel like maybe it's after they had to ask a hard question. And so instead of like blowing it out of proportion, say, boy, that's a smart question. Let's unpack it together. Maybe when you're recommending a bold move, say, I wouldn't suggest this if I didn't believe it aligned with your values. And then they feel overwhelmed. It's okay to breathe here. Let's slow the pace. Okay. Or maybe when they're frustrated, because you and I have all dealt with frustrated clients. This matters to you. And I hear that. Let's work it through together. Powerful stuff. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's what you keep saying without even realizing it. So keep doing it. Even well meaning phrases can trigger doubt, defensiveness, disengagement if they come across dismissive or vague or self serving. That's why you've got to be an exceptional client communicator because you're fluent in what to say and you're intentional about what not to say. So it's time to raise the bar. It's time to raise the bar. The reality is that steady words make steady clients. Steady words make steady clients. Now, go through this chapter. Go through the very end. There's a chapter wrap up. You have an opportunity to go through each of that like I do at the end of every chapter, every module, every training video. Want to remind you about insights, our client growth referral and retention report every 2 weeks with a subscription. This comes right to your email, give you scripts, give you these type of things, give you reminders, videos, research, articles, all that kind of stuff. I hope you'll take some time, register for that. Okay, friends, we're like moving into part 3, which is just the building your system part. And so we're going to be able to put all of this stuff together and feel it come together. So I'm proud of you. Right now, email me, jason@speakwithpeople.com, and let me know what word or phrase you got to start cutting out because you realize it's not building trust. Like always, make sure you're connected with me on LinkedIn. Text me. I'm so honored to be in this journey with you. We'll see you in the next video.